Hey everybody, it's Mike here from The Art of Guitar. I'm excited today. I'm going to be showing you some of my favorite techniques from Randy Rhoads. And growing up, Randy Rhoads was a big deal to me. I remember one of the first songs I wanted to learn was Crazy Train, and ever since then I've been trying to figure out what he was doing. You know, there's a lot of little things that I figured out over the years. You know, I had a lot of books and magazines. This is all before the internet. And my dad used to take us up north every other weekend, and we had nothing to do up where he lived, so I just brought my tribute book with, and basically I learned a lot about guitars just through that. So I wanted to pay tribute to Randy Rhoads, and show you my favorite techniques from him, and hopefully you guys learn a lot today. Okay, I'm sure you've already noticed the V, and this isn't my V, so thanks to my student Jacob for loaning me this guitar just to do this video. When I first started playing it, I remembered how awkward it feels to sit with a V, so I might look a little bit uncomfortable. But really, my second guitar ever was a V, a Charvel V back in the day. So you would think I'd be more used to this feeling, but I feel really awkward playing like this today. So I guess that's my excuse if anything goes wrong. So keep that in mind when you get a V, if you ever do. Sometimes sitting can be a problem. My V was worse. It had a input right here, and so the cord would stick out, and I went through a lot of inputs because of that. They would get loose and just get messed up. So at least this V has the input here. All right, one technique that really stuck with me that Randy did was he was good at double picking his notes. I don't know if he got bored or he just wanted to add more to the sound, but he would do something like this sometimes. Let's say if you're doing like that. Well, the next time he would do it, at least on tribute, he would start to double pick. So check this out. Something else you'll see Randy do is trills, but to an open string. And he does this in a couple different ways, but one of the ways he does it as kind of a filler fill is, let's go to the third string, 5th fret, and we're just going to hit a note and we're going to pull it off. We're going to hammer on, pull off, hammer on, pull off. Remember, like in the site where we teach pull-offs and hammer-ons, when I say pull-off, sometimes I want you to call it a pluck-off right away, because when you pluck the string, you understand that you're not just taking your finger off of it, which some people think. Instead, you're actually plucking the string, causing it to basically sound again, kind of like you're picking it again. So let's go 5th fret, 4th fret, 2nd fret. It's kind of hard to tell at this angle, but I'm going to use my middle finger, my index finger, and I'm going to walk down. So here's the sound slow. Now if you have a really strong middle finger, you could just use that. When Randy does it, he walks down kind of quick. He goes right to here, right to there. So it's kind of a quick jump down to the open string. You'll learn right away that your hand feels a little bit weak if you're doing this and it starts to feel tired. But don't forget, on our website we teach a lot of good hand exercises that you can learn from, so be sure to check those out. Sometimes when you're hitting certain chords, it's cool to replace them with natural harmonics. And if you don't quite know what natural harmonics are, remember, I'm not trying to teach all the lessons of each thing here. I just want to kind of show some of the techniques of what Randy does. But if you don't know natural harmonics, you could check it out on our site, or you can look it up how to do it anywhere. But if you were to play natural harmonics on the guitar, remember, it's just lightly touching at certain places on the guitar. 12th fret, 7th fret, 5th fret are the best places to do these. There are other places which we'll explore later when we get into like the Crazy Train type stuff that he does. But my favorite chord replacement that Randy does are the G chord and the D chord. So when he plays the G, sometimes instead of hitting the G, he'll just go to the 12th fret and basically hit the 2nd string, 3rd string, and 4th string. So he'll just go, maybe some whammy bar stuff too. But those three notes create the G chord. So if you're ever playing a song and you're about to hit a G, come up to here and hit the 12th fret instead. That being said, to go an octave higher than that, you can go to the 5th fret and do the same thing. It's kind of a cool way to do a G chord, isn't it? So instead of that, or there. So 12th fret or 5th fret for the G. Now if you go to the D chord, you can also replace that by going to the 7th frets. He uses this in a really cool way because he goes from G to D, I believe, in this one song. And so instead of going G to D, you just do the... You do that instead. So here's the difference. The chords, the harmonics. When I was a kid, I played a lot of Nintendo, showing my age, original Nintendo. And there was a game, I think it was some kind of Olympic game or something, and we had to push buttons really fast in order to run faster or swim or just do something. And I kept that technique when I started guitar, and I used it when I started to do tapping. So whether it was regular tapping with my finger or pick tapping, which I'll show you now, I used that concept of really getting small and doing really fast tapping. So that helped when I saw Randy Rhoads on a video do this. He basically plays a note, or he frets a note. In this case, we'll just go to the 2nd string, 12th fret. And I'm going to tap at the 15th fret of the same string with the side of my pick. So it's going to be here, not the tip. It's a little too hard to aim with just the tip, so I go with the whole side here, okay? So I basically turn it in, and I start chopping away at the string. Now I'm going to start slow, and as I do it, you're going to hear it speed up, but I'm going to hit like this turbo speed, and that's where like the video game bounce basically comes in. And if you don't know what that really means, just basically try to tap on a table with your middle finger, and then, I hate to say tense up, but it's a little bit of a tense, I guess, and your fingers start shaking. Eventually you could do it without tensing up, and it feels way better. So check this out. So did you hear it all of a sudden take off really fast? I can't explain it, it's just a feeling. It starts going like that. So that's one way to do that. Another thing that Randy does, by the way, you have to mute the strings around it. That's something we really stress on the website, is mute with the left hand. You do not want to let all the other strings ring out, especially if you're tapping on the neck like that. So I'm just going to mute them all by touching them a little bit around here. There's an art to it for sure. And we're going to bend as we go. So I'm going to bend this 12th fret as I'm tapping this time. Sounds like a weird siren or something. I like that. You could do that anywhere. Let's say in the middle of the neck. Cool sound. Randy is not afraid to just start descending in a chromatic fashion. Whatever lick he's doing, even just tremolo picking and ascending or descending. And he does this really cool set of 4s, like a sequence of 4s. And then he basically walks down chromatically. And we've done 3 video lessons now where I've mentioned the word chromatically. And basically, it just refers to moving 1/2 step down each time or 1/2 step up each time. So in this case, I'm just going to kind of pick a random spot, and I'm going to do this figure of 4. I'm going to go... So all it really is the 8th fret of the 2nd string to the 7th fret, and then on the 3rd string, 9th fret to 7th fret. Notice I'm opening my hand a little bit. I see Randy do that a lot in a lot of the live videos, so I'm trying to copy that a little bit. Kirk Hammett does it too. If you know my other videos that I teach in, I try to keep my hand in a fist sometimes, doing some different kinds of picking, but we're doing the open hand today. In honor of Randy. It's harder than you think. Like, you get going, and it can just fall apart really fast if you don't do it well. So try to just walk it down slowly. And remember, my big secret when I teach is accenting. So really try to nail that change real hard. So basically... A cool way to do a couple of fills that Randy likes to do is just to pull off to the open strings. We did that with the trill already, and open strings are huge on guitar. They ring out really well. Well, if you're doing like an A minor type thing, and you just start pulling the fingers off from the frets that they're on already, check out this sound. That's a pull-off he does in the song called I Don't Know. And he adds an artificial harmonic to this in this case. And I have a whole method on teaching pinch harmonics, artificial harmonics, but it's kind of lengthy. I tried to do it in the other video series that I did, and it took about 20 minutes, so I don't want to go into it now, but if you know how to do artificial harmonics, you're set for this. Just add that to this concept, and you get this. It kind of brings out just more excitement in the sound. And then a thing he does in Crazy Train is he does open pull-offs, but he does it kind of more systematically. So he'll be on the 3rd string and we'll go 4-2-0, 4-2-0, B-A-G, B-A-G if you're keeping track of notes. And then you just move that to the other string. You get this really nice round sound. Now, if you listen to rock or metal, you've heard this a billion times. Anyone from Ted Nugent to Eddie Van Halen to Randy Rhoads. You get this inverted fifths, and what that means is, you know, when you're used to power chords, and let's say you just do an A5 power chord, which is an open A string, and then a 2nd fret of the next string. That's a common sound. But if you were to just invert that and basically keep this D string 2nd fret pressed down, which is E, and then play the A here above it on the G string 2nd fret, you get the same idea, except it's inverted. So now instead of having a root note as the open string and a 5th interval here, we start with the 5th interval and then we put the octave above it. It gives you essentially the same idea, just a different sound. But check this out. So that's your smoke on the water thing too. All right, so here's the difference in sound. Open A power chord, inverted 5th power chord. Now the cool thing about the inverted 5th power chord is you can move it around a lot. And you might go, big deal, you can move a power chord around too. That's true, but you can leave the open string open as you move around the inverted 5th. And this brings all those songs back to life. Check this out. So if you ever wonder what Ted Nugent's doing, it's that concept. So Randy, he uses it more like that. You know, he's not walking up all the time. He might just use it in the middle of the neck a little bit. And he'll use separate fingers, but he's still barring and doing the inverted 5th idea. What separated Randy Rhoads from a lot of the guitar players that I was studying at the time, you know, Tony Iommi, Kirk Hammett, all that, is he really liked to use more of the notes of the minor scale, whereas like Kirk Hammett at first used a lot of pentatonic exclusively, especially in like Kill 'Em All days, you know. And so what I learned was a lot of these kind of patterns. And those are great, but I noticed Randy did a lot of extra notes inside of there. So let's say we add just one of the notes that he adds, in Crazy Train's a good example. He'll do a very common motif, I like to use that word, but like this. So instead of just going like this, which is cool, he'll actually add the 3rd fret of that. So he'll go like this. He'll do the bend here, 3rd string, 4th fret. Do the typical motif. I call this the mother of all licks, I think. And we have the 2nd fret of the B string, 2nd fret of the E string. So it's that old cliche, if you will. And then instead of just going like this, going back to the 2nd string, 5th fret and pulling off, which everyone, like I said, does. Angus Young does this a lot too. Randy Rhoads adds an extra note. So he'll pull off 5th fret to 2nd fret, but then he'll do the 3rd fret to 2nd fret. So you get this cool new sound. Use it up an octave. That's such an awesome sound, especially the way he does it in Crazy Train. There's a lot going on there, but the main idea is he's adding another interval inside of that scale. Just like Kirk Hammett does, and a lot of good guitar players, there's times where they don't want to follow the rules so much, they just want to make some crazy sounds. And it's just cool to just let go sometimes. Now, I don't know how you like to tremolo pick. People have different methods. Some people use their whole hand and their whole arm almost. That's very legit. It just gets kind of tiring after a while. Today I played this recital and I had to do a tremolo picking thing for about a minute straight. And I realized the power of just using your wrists for doing that too. So if you're just doing like a wrist rotation, that's great if you want to do that. You could also do like snap picking where you're basically just using your fingers. That's legit too. But in this case, I'm going to use my whole arm kind of because I just want to go crazy a little bit. And what Randy does is he'll just climb up almost just at random until he gets to the note he wants. So we're going to climb up till we get to the 22nd fret, the highest fret of this guitar, and here's how it sounds. So it's not pretty by any means, it's basically just chaos, and that's what you're aiming for. You can also go backwards. That's kind of fun. That reminds me a lot of like the Seek and Destroy solo by Kirk Hammett, which we should do another Kirk Hammett video because I'm all excited about these techniques that they share. So that's something you want to do. You want a tremolo pick, and just basically what I'm doing with my left hand, if you really heard what was going on, it would probably sound like this. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. Like if you really tried to stay inside of a scale, it'd be way more difficult. So it's more Paul Gilbert type stuff that we're gonna probably do in the future, Paul Gilbert video. I have to really practice a lot to get to that point, I guess. But so right now, chaos picking up and down and really get those hands moving, those fingers moving like crazy, okay? They should almost look like caterpillars, I don't know. Climbing down a tree. Is that what they look like? Randy Rhoads had real great left-hand dexterity. He would do these trills that were just amazing. And a big part of the trills, let's say the trills in Crazy Train, they're either a step and a half or they're 2 steps wide. Let's go with the 2-step wide trill. And I want you just to try it first finger, pinky. If you don't know what a trill is, it's basically 2 notes going back and forth really fast. And we can trill using hammer-ons and pull-offs, hammer-ons and pull-offs. We already did trills to open strings, but this is a whole nother beast here. So we're going to go from G up to B, note-wise, and I just want you to start slow and then go faster and then try to climb down a little bit. So if you do that for a while, you might go, oh, that kind of hurts a little bit. Is there a better way to do it? Some guitar players like to drop their thumb and trill like this with their thumb in the back, and that makes a lot of sense because you have some power pushing back with your thumb. I just happen to keep my thumb over the top and do it. I just got used to that feeling. It's not the most comfortable and you're not the most powerful doing it, but I like it. So that's not bad. Let's move back to the 14th fret and the 17th fret. Back up, 15, 19. And another guitar player we should be doing, Dimebag Darrell. Huge influence on me, especially not really right away, but after, I'd say, 5 years of playing, he became huge in my world. And I noticed he would do really, really high harmonics. I didn't know how the heck that he was doing these. And I'm not going to do them in Dimebag's context today because Randy used them in a rhythmic context a lot. And when I think of Dimebag doing this, he used it a lot for leads. So all it really is if you take natural harmonics that we've already done in previous lessons and on the website, you know 12th fret, 7th fret, 5th fret are the key places to do those because they just work the best. Check it out. But did you know you can also go to the 4th fret? And then there's a whole bunch underneath the 4th fret that just get weird. They're really high sounding, they're unpredictable. So a cool way to do it is just to kind of start picking and then moving your finger down and you'll find a whole bunch that you never knew existed maybe. Sounds like a little Billy Idol there. So if in Pantera kind of context, I guess that's a rhythm context. It's just a cool intro. Randy would just use it like in Crazy Train. So did you hear that really crazy one? It sounded very metallic. That one's about a 1.7, and that's the way old Tab used to do it. 2.6, 2.4, 1.7. And that just means 1.7 would be 1 is with the first fret. 0.7 is about, if you count a fret as 10, 7 would be right about there. I guess that was their way of figuring that out. So those are ultra high harmonics. And by the way, you don't have to do those just on the low E string, which I just did. You could do them very high up on the high strings too, like this. And if I just reach over and grab this whammy bar real quick, this is where things get kind of crazy. You could do stuff like... So that ultra high stuff that you hear some guitar players do. That was insane, and I don't want to break a string, so that's all I'm going to show you today. Here's a technique that you'll hear Randy use a lot. If you take the minor scale, hopefully you guys are familiar with at least A minor in the 5th position. Looks like this. A couple different ways to do that. You could also climb like this. Well, just take a minor scale, and basically the notes are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, which is great. And what we're going to do is we're not going to go to the very top. We're going to go to the second to the highest note possible in this position, which is B. And we're just going to stagger. So we're going to go B to C. So I'm just going to say fret numbers for a second. 7, 8. And then we're going to go down to 5 to 7. And see how we're staggering? We're starting here. We're going up a note, going back 2 notes, climbing up a note, going down 2 notes. Now we're going to be on the 2nd string, 8th fret, coming back a note, 2, up, down 2, up, down 2, up. Now it might be confusing the way I'm explaining it. I'm just realizing it doesn't sound very easy. But if you listen to it, it might make sense. Check this out. Now I don't care if you play this fast. It doesn't matter. A lot of times when I teach, I try to play things as fast as possible just because a lot of people like speed. But in this particular example, Randy uses it melodically and slow. So keep in mind, you don't always have to blaze through things to make them sound good, okay? So that's the backward stagger using a minor scale. And by the way, you can go all the way to the bottom if you want. I just went down a little ways. It just gets weird towards the bottom because you have to do some weird shifts, so be careful, okay? Now, if you guys ever tried to play Crazy Train, you know that Randy does this all the time, and he uses it in all over the Tribute album, which, by the way, is the main album I know Randy from, which is kind of weird because he has the real studio albums, but I grew up listening to Tribute. So a big thing he likes to do, anytime they go to an A5 power chord, which is a lot, he likes to bend into it. What I mean by that is you do not bend an open string. We bend underneath it and come up to the A5 power chord. What he does a lot is he takes his middle finger and he'll bring it to the G on the 6th string, bend it a little bit, and then come back with the power chord. So it sounds like this. Just like that. So used in context. It's sort of a Jimmy Page thing, you know, if you think of it. Before I forget, one thing I heard Randy do during his solo on Tribute is he did this cool trick that you can only do with certain guitars, namely Les Pauls do this all the time. I don't know if this guitar could do it. Let's see. This could be a big surprise for me. You shut off one of the pickups and then you basically toggle between the two, the one that's off and the one that's on, using your toggle switch. So let's see. Yes, we can. Quick little side story, my first concert ever was Kiss during their Hot in the Shade tour, and the band Slaughter opened for them. It was my first time seeing a band live. And I remember Tim Kelly, rest in peace as well, he hit an A power chord and just did that, and it shook the whole building. It was crazy. So he basically just went, took his toggle switch, shut it off, and then did that, and my chest was like, I'm like, I love metal. Even though Slaughter's not metal. So check this out. Now that's slow. You can actually do the video game thing with your hand and get kind of fast with it too. Check this out. Couple more motifs that I love that Randy does. One of them is just a triplet sound, and if you watch his hand close up, he's got that gnarly thumbnail sticking out if you ever watch his live videos doing this. And he's really good at taking 3 notes and using pull-offs and a certain picking method to make it really flow. So check this out. We're going to go basically 15th fret to the 12th fret on the E string, and then we're going to dip down to the 13th fret of the B string. And we're just going to make it a 3-note pattern. So we're going to go like this. Okay, that's just a quick little triplet idea you could do with pull-offs. Now you can go fast. You can basically pick it a couple different ways. Here's one way. That's the way I like to pick it, because I like the, you know, push picking idea, the economy picking, which we teach on the website too. But I watched Randy, and he was kind of doing like this snap picking type thing. He's way ahead of his time. So check this out. So I'm upstroking, pulling off, downstroking, going back to upstroking. So outside picking. And if you put that around the guitar, you get some cool sound. Especially if you stretch up like that. I like that. I'm not used to that picking, you could probably tell. So if I did it more into that kind of, you know, sweep picking motion when I play. To get a very evil sound, sometimes you have to dip into the diminished world, and all that theory stuff will be found on the site. But think of diminished today as we're just going to basically be going from one string on one fret to the next string a fret higher, to the next string a fret higher, and so on. We're just climbing. And if you do that, you already get a pretty wicked sound. Check this out. It's that Black Sabbath sound. They considered that the most evil sound back in the day. I think if you played it, you were a heretic. But if you want to make it even crazier, like Randy probably did, you just add basically a half-step trill to each one. So we're going to go 5-6 on the first one, go to the next string, 6-7, next string, 7-8. When you get to the next string, you want to jump up a whole step to continue the continuity, if you will. And then the next string, you just go up one fret. Cool sound. Trill. And I'm sure the second you heard me climbing, you just thought of Randy Rhoads right away. That's how definitive his style was. I watched Randy doing some of his solos, and all of a sudden he'll kick into a legato technique, kind of like Joe Satriani, and he'll just flow up really, really nicely using 3-note per string. It's going to be 6th string, we have 5th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret, same thing on the next string. Then when you get to the next string, the 4th string, we go 6, 7, 9, and then copy that on the next string, 6, 7, 9. And then the last two strings, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10. And what Randy's really good at doing is basically picking the first note and hammering on the next two, causing a legato type sensation, which is a very smooth sound. Sometimes you get cool little harmonics in there like that if you want to, but Randy was so good at just swiftly going up. So if you practice that a lot with a metronome, pretty soon you'll find yourself just doing it with barely even having to try. You see how I went up and then back down using that same kind of idea? So you can do double pull-offs too in this scale. He would do sometimes what I call double tapping. And so if you're just doing your typical tapping, sometimes you go like this. Little eruption type sound. Well, Randy was good at double tapping. So he would double tap. In this case, 2nd string, 14th fret, and then fretting the left hand on the 7th fret and the 10th fret. Traditional tapping. Double tapping. I can't do a Randy video without showing you some of the just filler stuff that he tended to do all the time. One thing he did a lot was just a big slide from up high on the E string. So once again, that big slide, we're just starting as high as we can, hitting a note and just dragging it down. Now that might seem like a real basic idea, but if it's not there, you lose all that excitement. So that's a big slide for him. Another one is just a quick pick slide that he does. The beginning of Crazy Train's a little bit deceiving because I think it's multiple guitar takes doing different things. But if you ever take the side of your pick, just put it against the fat strings and just drag them down the string, you'll hear a nice little ripping, scratching sound. And depending where you do it, you get different tones. I bounced the pick a little there. That video game technique, man, I'm telling you. People say that playing video games is a waste of time, but They help me a lot, at least in this case. Kind of going off that idea of the diminished climb, every time you switch a string going up a fret, unless it's between the second and third strings, then you have that weird B string tuning thing where you have to jump up to compensate, so an extra fret. What Randy does, at least in his solo, in the Suicide Solution solo, the live one, he comes up and he's walking like this. It's kind of like a drunk spider or something. I like to compare a lot of these exercises to insects for some reason. And you start to go like this. The band Testament does this as well. Alex Skolnick did this in one of their songs. And it's basically just a walk. And it creates diminished notes as you climb up. So if somebody's ever playing a diminished chord, let's say A diminished, and you want to sound like you're matching it, you're doing something over the top of it, well, that's always a great sound to add to something like that. Plus it's fun just to do that. It's kind of a cool little exercise as well. Sound like Yngwie Malmsteen a little bit. Another video I should do, Yngwie Malmsteen. A lot of practicing coming up for me. Randy had a way of making trills sound really cool. We already talked about trills, but if you want to make your trills more interesting, you can add bends to them. So whether it's the whammy bar, go on something like this maybe. That's just a simple trill. We're doing a step and a half trill and I'm just dipping the bar as I go. You can also, this is kind of interesting, you could reach behind with your right hand and pull the string up as you're trilling. So I'm just going to go to like a normal trill now, 12-14. Not sure if I saw Randy do that, but it sounded like he did something like that. You can also reach behind the nut on most guitars and push the string and bend it as you're doing other things. I can't do that on this guitar because of the locks, but that's another concept. So have fun with that. Mess with the bar or reach behind. And literally pull the string up with the other hand. It's kind of interesting. People will be like, what is he doing? That's crazy. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed my Randy Rhoads tribute video. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're hitting a lot of numbers lately. It's great to see that. I think a lot of people like these artist series. Also, don't forget to check out The Art of Guitar, where we actually teach guitar lessons so you can learn what all these crazy intervals and techniques are all about. And I know you can learn a lot. So I have a lot of fun teaching you guys, and we'll see you at the next video.